Well, hello everybody, and welcome to my show. My name is Jason DaCosta, and this is, you guessed it, Consistent Preterism. Thank you for joining me today as I cruise through the hood on my way to a local Best Buy because I need to buy some headphones, some earphones for, or earbuds, earphones, it's all the same. I need to buy those little things for my ears to put right in there. There's two of them because I need to start running again. This whole COVID-30 has really hit me. And I don't mean 30 years of age. I mean 30 pounds. And maybe it's not 30 pounds, but I've certainly put on 15 to 20 pounds since COVID struck. And I think it's a little bit to do with everything, right? I mean, we're trapped in the house. The gyms just got all shut down. So there was no activity. No basketball, right? You know, those who know me know that I dunk on fools. And so, yeah, it's been tough, you know, none of that. And then you get into that routine. You become used to that routine. And now it's like, damn, it's been almost 7 months and I haven't done jack diddly. So I bought some running shoes last week. Going to Best Buy right now to buy some new headphones because I was using the Beats by Dre. But let me tell you, the Beats by Dre, even though they produce a fine sound, even though they do give one a fine experience in the musical world, they oftentimes short out because of the sweat that comes from me deep within my pores when I work out. So they often short out. So I don't have a lot of success with Beats by Dre for more than maybe a period of 10 to 12 months of constantly profusively sweating and if that's even a word, sweating into these things, and then they break. So I'm not going with those. I'm going with something else, but I need to go talk to the Geek Squad about it over at Best Buy. And if you know anything about Best Buy, you know that that is exactly what they call them, and no, that is not me being mean. They actually call themselves the Geek Squad. So they're there for your convenience. And if you're kind of a tech dummy like myself, they come in handy, let me tell you. You walk up to them, they have glasses on usually, they're nice people, and they say, "Hi, what can we help you with?" And you ask them a question about technology, and they know all the answers. It's kind of like asking me a question about sports or asking me a question about different topics. I know a lot of answers. These guys know their tech shit, let me tell you. So that's where we're going, and we're going to see what they have to offer. But today, I wanted to talk about another question that I received from a viewer. Now, I'm going to leave the viewer's name out of this. I don't know if he would like me to say it, so it's just better left unsaid. But he is I.O., I know that for certain, so good dude. But anyhow, trouser, we're going to read that email, and I think it's an email that we're going to want to pay attention to and maybe listen to how I answer that sort of thing. And because I think it comes in handy when you're dealing with anti-IO, objections and stuff like that. So it's one that you should put in your back pocket, tuck it away nicely, and have it there in case, somebody steps to you. Because I personally have experienced this sort of question a lot from different people who oppose IO. So it's good to know, or it's good to have as in your arsenal, I should say. So we're going to read the question, and let's see what it says here. Give me 1 second. Let me pull her up. It says here, Jason, what are your thoughts on Timothy? Was he a pagan Gentile because of his father, or a Jew because of his mother? Was he a non-Israelite who was later circumcised to become a Jew? Or do we ignore all 3 Timothy letters outright because they're known to be pseudographical forgeries penned after Israel's story ended? If Timothy was a Gentile dog, then how did he make it into the New Jerusalem? Why would a pagan need to enter the New Jerusalem if he was never part of the Old? How could he be sealed with the Spirit if he wasn't part of the group promised to receive the Spirit according to Joel 2? Do you have any IO resources on Timothy? Best regards. And so basically this is a question that I'm sure we've all come across in our days as IOers, okay? And it doesn't just have to be about Timothy, right? It can be about anyone. The Philippian jailer, right? All these people that are sealed with this Holy Spirit. We tend to get the objections from the peanut gallery that these particular folks, there's no way that they could have been Israelites. There's no way that they could have been Abraham's seed, literally, right? And so we get that a lot. And so it's good to have a good answer to that, because I don't think that people are prepared for that. I think a lot of times what happens is we try to get down and dirty into the details and try to, dig up a certain character's ancestry and figure out exactly how they got where they got, right? Exactly how they made it to these positions in life, wherever they are portrayed as being in those last days. We sit there and we scratch our head and say, man, how did this happen? How was he how was he this? Or how was he a Jew? Was he a pagan? Was he an Israelite? Was he circumcised? All this stuff, right? So, sorry, I was just merging. So I was doing the rubberneck. But all this stuff. Come on. You can do it, baby. Anyways, we try to figure out everything, right? And I don't actually believe that is the wisest approach to take when it comes to the narrative, right? I don't believe that the narrative is, how do I put this? I stopped doing that a while ago because I realized that the story isn't concerned with these types of fine, minuscule details, or with where these people came from, right? Ooh, that was almost an accident. Come on. Just let me get through this light and we're golden here. The story doesn't set itself up in that type of way, nor does it intend to explain, like I said, how people got where they got in those final days. I think that the better approach is to understand the story, as I always say, as a supernatural tale, a supernatural regathering of Abraham's chosen descendants, Abraham's seed, okay? The quote-unquote hows of how these elect ones got where they got isn't really important, nor is it meant to be figured out, in my opinion, right? You're not going to dig through the story and find those details anywhere, which tells you that the story doesn't care that much about them, because it's a fanciful, ideal tale, okay? And what it's doing is it's going around to all these places and it's plucking out Abraham's seed, right? It's calling them out. That's what the church, the ecclesia, the called out ones were. Be separate from among them, and I'll make you my people, he said. So he's calling out these chosen descendants, Abraham's seed, aka the chosen ones, aka Israelites, okay? And he's telling them, come on. And he's basically telling them, hey, wherever they are, it's okay. They're being called out. Their sins have been forgiven, no matter what, form of life they took on, no matter what they were doing, no matter how many laws they had violated. Christ had nailed those things to the cross, and he was calling them all back into one new man. So when someone argues, how was Timothy a descendant of Israel, and they start getting into the fine details of that and trying to, get me to prove it. You can't prove it. There's no way to prove it, right? Well, I don't have to prove it. My approach with these people would be to show them that these details are of no concern to the narrative. The narrative doesn't offer details as to the deep prior ancestry of Timothy. As Paul wrote to those in Galatia. Now, this is important. I want you to pay attention here, because this is the passage and the answer that will shut down any objection in this regard. As Paul wrote to those in Galatia, we remember this in chapter 3, and told them at the end of chapter 3 that it didn't matter if they were Jew or Greek, slave or free. If they are Christ's, or if they were Christ's, then they were Abraham's seed. Or in other words, it's because they were Abraham's seed, aka Abraham's descendants, same word. And they were heirs according to the promise. So Paul wrote that to the Galatians, and he told them, he said, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter where how you got there. It doesn't matter where you came from. If you are Christ's, then you're Abraham's seed. Let me repeat that. If you are Christ's, it's because you're Abraham's seed, right? See, then you're Abraham's seed and it's because you're Abraham's seed are the same things. Then you're Abraham's seed. It's because you're Abraham's seed. In other words, if you've received the Holy Spirit marking, it's because you're an Israelite. You're an heir according to the promise. You're Abraham's seed. You're a chosen one. You're one of my elect. And it quite frankly doesn't matter if you're Jew or Greek, slave or free. Right? That's the whole point of this here. Paul said that to the Galatians, so you can say that to these wannabes who argue this point. Let me repeat that, because that's a pretty profound statement, and I hope you pick up on it. Ready? Paul said that. He said that to the Galatians, that if they were Christ, it didn't matter what they were. It didn't matter how they got there. It was proof that they were Abraham's seed, or Abraham's descendants, and heirs according to the promise. So because Paul said that to the Galatians, you can turn around and use that against those who object to IO. That's just the bottom line. And that's the beauty of it all. I'm just parking here at Best Buy. Give me 1 minute. So like I said, you can say the same thing to Joe Schmo from Idaho who isn't happy about the IO conclusions. You can say to him, Joe Schmo, it doesn't matter if Timothy was a Jew or a Greek. It doesn't matter if Timothy was a slave or free. If Timothy was Christ's, then he was Abraham's seed, or he was Abraham's descendant, and an heir according to the promise. You see, this is that all-encapsulating consistency that we need to maintain throughout the narrative, throughout the New Testament. And that's what IO does better than anybody else. IO steps aside and says, hey, you're looking at things a little too closely there, okay? It doesn't matter, all right? You got to look at it kind of backwards. You got to say, okay, well, we know that the marking of the Holy Spirit was only for the 12 tribes. We know that Peter said that wherever they were, they'd be called back near and far with the Holy Spirit promise. That's Acts chapter 2. So we got to start with knowing that bit of information and letting that seep into and soak into everything else. Okay? And so when you get to places like Timothy or the jailer or whoever is getting the marking of the Holy Spirit, you can understand now who that is. Right? These were chosen ones. Okay? And again, you don't need to understand it. It's not imperative that you understand where these people came from. That's not the point of the Bible. The Bible's only a 2,000-page book, and the New Testament's probably only 20% of that. Maybe. I've never really done that. I can't remember how many pages the New Testament is. But point being is that it doesn't give you all the information that you expect it to give you. So you can sit around and speculate all day what happened with Timothy, where did he come from, was he circumcised, was he a pagan, was he a Jew, why was he here, why was he there. Bottom line, end of story, is that he received the Holy Spirit. He was called one of the elect. He was included in the chosen body of saints that Paul was writing to. And therefore, because of that, we can with assurance say that he was Abraham's descendant and an heir according to the promise. Folks, I hope you picked up on that. I hope it made sense to y'all. If you liked it, give it a like-a-rooski. If you didn't, take a hike-a-rooski. And we'll catch you on that flip side. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.